So CES, or Consumer Electronics Show 2020, is well underway, and it's been kind of an interesting show. Some people were expecting Sony to potentially release something about the PlayStation 5. They kind of did. They showed off the new PlayStation 5 logo. Kind of reminded me of that episode of The Simpsons where Moe came out on stage trying to get bids for people to bid on him to take him out on a date, and he just walked across the stage. It just replaced the face of Moe with the PS5 logo, and that's pretty much all you got from Sony. Now, I didn't think Sony was going to talk about the PlayStation 5 at this show. Usually you see smaller companies, and smaller companies are the focus of today's video because I want to talk about what Atari, Hyperkin, and of course Arcade1Up has announced at CES 2020, because there's some very cool stuff here and then some kind of questionable stuff as well. So sit back, relax, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and let's talk about everything that's been going on at CES 2020. So let's kick things off with the Atari VCS, because the Atari VCS is kind of there. They're not really showcasing this product quite yet because, it's not like it's supposed to come out anytime soon or anything like that, but the Atari VCS was there in some capacity. Now, I have heard that there's some behind the closed doors sort of showings of the Atari VCS in action, but if you're on the floor, all you see is the Atari VCS shell, and it's kind of a translucent shell, so you can see the insides of the system, and yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all Atari is doing at CES 2020. Now, they did take to their Facebook page and update people on the system. They showed off a new picture of the interface, and I'm not the most hardcore Atari fan in the world. The Atari stuff is a bit before my time, but I even know basic things, and just looking at this picture, there were some things that just sort of jumped out to me. Now, when did the game become Asteroid? Singular. I'm pretty sure it's called Asteroids, and I'm pretty sure most video game players, especially older video game players, know that the game is called Asteroids. Yet on this picture, it is simply called Asteroid. Is this a knockoff of the original Asteroids? Is this some sort of, third-party developed game? It's not the original Asteroids. Yar's Revenge. I'm pretty sure that apostrophe is in the wrong place. I'm pretty sure the apostrophe is supposed to go at the end of the S, not before the S. Like, these are just very basic things. And when you see very basic things like this being messed up with the Atari VCS, it just doesn't make you feel very confident in the product. When the Atari VCS was first unveiled, I had questions about it. When they started doing crowdfunding about it, I still had questions about it. What is this system doing? What is this system capable of playing? What games are going to be available on this system? And this was like a year and a half ago. And a year and a half later, I still have these exact same questions with the Atari VCS. Maybe we'll get some information on the behind the closed door showing of the product. Maybe there's actually some very cool things going on with the Atari VCS, but I feel like even the most die-hard Atari VCS fanboys that really were looking forward to this system are starting to get a bit tired of this. It's time to start talking about what this system is going to do, what system and games this system will be capable of playing, and what you can expect to be doing with your Atari VCS. It's definitely been a very rocky road for the Atari VCS. I don't think CES has done a very good job of making consumers feel much better about the product, but yeah, so that's what's going on with the Atari VCS. Pretty much the same sort of stuff that we've seen been going on. Absolutely nothing. Next up, the Game Boy seems to be having some sort of resurgence in 2019 and 2020. Of course, last year we saw a premium product, the GBA Consolizer, come out. Definitely a premium product, a high price point, unless you could do it yourself, but definitely something very cool. The ability to play your Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy cartridges on your HD television, and a very neat product, but definitely a premium product. We, of course, have Analog coming out with their Game Boy Clone that will also play Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance games. A very sleek, a very beautiful looking system. I cannot wait to get my hands on it. I'm definitely very excited for it. But once again, when you're talking about Analog, you're talking about a premium product. Of course, there are companies out there that try to do more budget-friendly consoles, and one of those companies is, of course, Hyperkin. Now, some Hyperkin stuff I like, some Hyperkin stuff I don't really like, but I do take their products on a product-to-product basis because I do think that they do some good products. Well, Hyperkin announced at CES today that they are doing the Retron Junior, which is a Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and a Game Boy Advance plug-and-play system for your HD television. Now, they showed a picture of it, and I absolutely love how this system looks because it looks like the puzzle box from Hellraiser. I feel like if you take this box apart, Pinhead and his minions are going to come and pretty much make you get tortured and try to kill you. So I really like that about the design. It's a very small, chunky little box, but I think it looks cool. And since I am a fan of Hellraiser especially like the first 3 or 4 films. I definitely really dig the aesthetic of this system. Now, like I said, this will play all your Game Boy, your Game Boy Color, and your Game Boy Advance cartridges natively onto the system. It doesn't matter what region they are, as the Game Boy stuff is region free. It does come with a Scout controller as well. It is a wired controller. I've used the Scout controller before. I think it's actually a pretty solid controller. I'm pretty sure I reviewed it or had it in a review for a product that Hyperkin sent me. I definitely do like the Scout controller though. It will be able to play your Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance games on your HD television in 720p. Of course, it does have a toggle for 16:9 and 4:3. If you're playing in anything by 4:3, you're kind of strange, but you know what? It's all love here on RGT85. I won't judge you. I might just look at you kind of funny. But yes, I think this is a very cool little system, and obviously since it's a Hyperkin system, it's not going to be a premium, super expensive system. I think it's good to have premium products that are available for the retro connoisseurs, and I think it's good for those to have, you know, products that are a bit cheaper for the more casual retro fan. I feel like I sort of fall in the middle. I like both sides of the product, so I'm definitely looking forward to this. Now, one thing that was absent from CES was their N64 product. Of course, Hyperkin is releasing an N64 system, and I'm really honestly looking forward to this. I think this is going to be absolutely awesome. People are like, oh, well, it's using this emulator, it's doing this. Look, I don't really care what emulators the system is using. I want to play my N64 cartridges on my HD television in a simplistic manner, and if it's making these games look sharper, that is absolutely awesome to me. I don't care how it does it, I just want it to do it. So I hope the N64 product is unveiled and talked about more at E3 this year. I think that would be a really good place for it. Hopefully it will come out this year as well, because I really want to get my hands on it. I think if they price this right, you know, under $100 or maybe right at that $100 price mark with a controller or two, I think this could be an absolutely runaway success for Hyperkin. So I'm definitely really looking forward to it. But I think the Retron Junior is pretty cool. Let me know what you think of it in the comments down below. And finally, the big company I was looking forward to at CES 2020 is, of course, Arcade1Up. I love building these. I love collecting these. I think they're just so cool. I love the artwork on them. I think they're pretty solid build quality for the price point. So I am a big fan of Arcade1Up. You guys know that. I pretty much review all the ones that come out because I just love these damn things, and I'm starting to run out of room. But you know what? Where there's a will, there's a way, and I will figure out how to put more Arcade1Ups in this room, damn it. And now Arcade1Up has revealed even more stuff at CES 2020. Now, one of the things that they revealed is something that I feel is interesting, but not necessarily for me, and that is a brand new SEGA cabinet. Now, some of my friends, such as Cool Toy and Retro Ralph, are actually at CES 2020, so I'll be ganking some of their footage because they're the homies, but I will have their channels in the description box and in the pinned comment in the comment section down below. Make sure you guys go subscribe to them, tell them I sent you, because they do absolutely great work with the Arcade1Up stuff. But they are available on the show floor, and SEGA is actually doing a cabinet with Arcade1Up. Now, you would think I would be very excited for this cabinet, but the game list isn't really stuff that I'm super into. It's more of the older SEGA stuff, the older SEGA arcade stuff that was a bit before my time. But the game list includes the following. So on this SEGA arcade cabinet, you have Golden Axe, Shinobi, Altered Beast, Wrestle Wars, and Golden Axe, The Revenge of Death Adder. Now, I think a lot of people are going to be excited for stuff like Shinobi on there. Obviously, the arcade version of Shinobi was much better than the home console versions that we got around that time. I'm sure stupid Joe from GameSack is like, I already have the PCB board for, you know, Shinobi. But I even feel like Joe might pick up one of these because I know he is such a big SEGA fan. But I think this is cool only because I feel like it opens the doors to more SEGA stuff, and that's what makes me very excited. Games like Virtua Fighter, House of the Dead, Daytona USA. If you make an Arcade1Up cabinet of like Virtua Fighter, I will lose my mind. You will see a mental breakdown of just sheer joy and sheer happiness. In Daytona USA, like imagine coming into your house and hearing do 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 Daytona. Like that, you could die a happy person after seeing that. But yes, SEGA is teaming up with Arcade1Up, and I think that is very cool. Now, another big thing that Arcade1Up is doing is they're getting into the pinball division, and it seems like virtual pinball is going to be a main focus for them going forward. They showed off 2 virtual pinball machines, a Star Wars themed one and an Attack on Mars themed one. And honestly, I'm a big fan of pinball stuff. You know, pinball is cool, but you know, actually getting pinball machines into your house is, you know, impossible. They're so damn big and they're so heavy. There's so many working parts, but I feel like the virtual pinball thing could be a very lucrative market, especially if these are priced pretty reasonably. They haven't announced any price points for these. I believe they're trying to do the $400 to $500 range with these, but Cool Toy actually got his hands on the Star Wars virtual pinball machine and everything just looks awesome. He's definitely a very skeptical person and he seemed to be very pleased with the feedback of the system. You know, the display itself, everything looked and felt like it should. So I'm definitely very excited for this. I hope that there's, you know, some other pinball machines. I saw some leaked pictures of like Universal Studios pinball, which could be absolutely awesome if you have like, oh, I don't know, Terminator 2 on there, which is one of my favorite pinball machines all time. So very, very cool stuff here. I will definitely be picking up one of these virtual pinball machines because I feel like this is a really untapped market and something that, yes, there are virtual pinball machines out there that you could pick up, but they're so expensive and this could be a more budget-friendly thing. I think these will be a big success. But of course, the big game, the game I've been looking forward to the most, NBA Jam, folks. NBA Jam. If you know anything about me, you know that my favorite sport is, of course, the NBA. I'm a huge NBA fan. I will always be a huge NBA fan, even though there are a lot of things I disagree with the current NBA model. But NBA Jam Tournament Edition, and NBA Hang Time, which is one of the most criminally underrated arcade games of all time. Hang Time was so damn good, but nobody cared about it for whatever reason. I still don't know why. There are times when I would rather play Hang Time than NBA Jam, but that's a conversation for another day. But yes, these 3 games will be available on one beautiful system, and this system just looks absolutely awesome. Now, the reason I've been sort of treading water with covering this, because this information's been out for about a day or so, is I wanted to know about the rosters, because the rosters are going to be very important. How are they going to be able to do the rosters? Well, according to both Cool Toy and Retro Ralph, who talked with Arcade1Up representatives, they're going for the most complete roster possible. Obviously, there are going to be some licensing issues with certain players, but they are aiming to have the most complete roster that they can have in this game. I guess if they can't get a certain player, it'll just be sort of an image of them with a random number or maybe the jersey number that they wore. But I'm definitely very, very excited for this. And one of the very cool things about the Arcade1Up NBA Jam cabinet is there's going to be online play. Yes, Arcade1Up is getting into the online market as well with this system. So you'll be able to play with people all across the United States. And that's super cool in my opinion. Like, I don't know how it's going to work. I don't know if it's going to be a wired or a Wi-Fi connection, but that is something just absolutely awesome. The cabinet itself looks absolutely great, and I just can't wait to get more information on this. They are aiming for a fall release for this cabinet alongside of the Arcade1Up virtual pinball stuff as well, so it's going to be a very expensive fall, but at least it gives me time to sort of rework stuff in the game room so that I can incorporate these systems. Like I said, Retro Ralph and Cool Toy are both available on the CES show floor, so make sure you guys go check out their channels. They are pinned in the comment section, and they are also available in the description box. Huge shout outs to the homies there. Alright, so that was a little CES 2020 recap of everything that's been talked about so far that I found interesting. So let me know in the comment section down below what you think of all of this stuff. What do you think about the Atari VCS and how we still don't know much about it? What do you think about Hyperkin's Retron Jr.? And of course, are you excited for the upcoming Arcade1Up stuff? And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Be sure to check out other videos on the channel. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.